The Erythraean Sea, often referred to as the Red Sea today, was the lifeblood of commerce and cultural exchange for several ancient civilizations. The ancient maritime routes of the Erythraean Sea, spanning from the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean, were instrumental in shaping the economies, cultures, and political landscapes of the ancient world. The trade routes connected the Nile Valley, the Arabian Peninsula, the Horn of Africa, and the Indian subcontinent, facilitating the movement of goods, ideas, and people across vast distances. In this script, we explore the significance of the Erythraean Sea trade routes in the ancient world, highlighting the key players, the goods exchanged, the challenges faced by ancient sailors, and the long-lasting impacts on the civilizations that were part of this interconnected network. The story of the Erythraean Sea trade is a tale of adventure, discovery, and cross-cultural exchange that laid the foundations for the modern globalized world. The Erythraean Sea, known today as the Red Sea, stretches from the Mediterranean Sea through the Suez Canal and into the Indian Ocean. It is bordered by Egypt and Sudan to the west, the Arabian Peninsula to the east, and the Horn of Africa to the south. Its narrowness and strategic position made it a central hub for maritime trade between the Mediterranean world and the distant lands of the east, including India, Southeast Asia, and the Far East, the Gulf of Aden and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. These two key passages link the Red Sea to the broader Indian Ocean trade network. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, in particular, was crucial for connecting the Mediterranean and the Arabian Sea, the coastal regions and maritime ports. Egypt and the Nile Valley, the Egyptian ports, such as Alexandria and Berenice, played pivotal roles in trade routes. The Nile River was crucial in connecting the interior of Africa to the Red Sea. Arabian Peninsula and the southern Arabian coast, ports like Qusir and Mersa Gawassi served as hubs for trade between the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa, and the Mediterranean. Horn of Africa and East African coasts, modern-day Eritrea, Djibouti, and Somalia were key locations for trade with African and Asian regions. The Indian subcontinent and beyond, ancient cities like Aden, Maziris, and the Malabar coast were integral to the flow of goods between Africa, the Middle East, and India. The Egyptian dominance and the rise of trade. Egyptian maritime expeditions. The earliest evidence of trade through the Erythraean Sea comes from ancient Egypt, where pharaohs organized maritime expeditions to the land of Punt, likely modern-day Somalia and the Horn of Africa. These voyages were undertaken during the Old and Middle Kingdoms. Goods traded by Egypt. Egypt exported papyrus, linen, and gold, while importing exotic goods such as incense, myrrh, ivory, and exotic animals from the Horn of Africa. The role of the Red Sea ports. The ancient Egyptian ports of Berenice and Mersa Gawassis were crucial in connecting Egypt to the southern Arabian Peninsula and East Africa. The role of the Phoenicians and the expansion of trade networks. Phoenician maritime prowess. The Phoenicians, seafaring people from the eastern Mediterranean, modern-day Lebanon, were the first to establish extensive maritime trade networks that extended to the Red Sea. Phoenician influence in the Red Sea. Through their colonies in North Africa and the Mediterranean, Phoenician merchants expanded their reach to the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa. Trade with India and Southeast Asia. The Phoenicians likely established early trade routes linking the Erythraean Sea to India, particularly through the port city of Oman, which became a central node in the trade between the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean. The Greek and Roman influence. Alexander the Great and the spread of Greek influence. Following Alexander's conquests in the 4th century BC, Greek merchants began to establish a more structured presence in the Erythraean Sea. Alexandria, founded by Alexander in 331 BC, became the epicenter of maritime trade in the Mediterranean. The Roman Empire and the control of maritime routes. Under Roman rule, the Erythraean Sea became increasingly important. The Romans controlled vital ports such as Berenice, and Roman fleets dominated the Red Sea. Roman trade goods. The Roman Empire exchanged a wide range of goods through the Erythraean Sea, including wine, olive oil, glassware, pottery, and slaves. In return, they imported luxury goods such as spices, incense, ivory, and gemstones from the east. The Silk Road and the maritime trade routes. The role of the Erythraean Sea in the Silk Road network. the Erythraean Sea trade routes were integral to the broader Silk Road network, facilitating the movement of goods from China, Central Asia, and India to the Mediterranean. Spices and silks. The demand for spices, silk, and luxury textiles from China and India fueled long-distance maritime trade, leading to increased interactions between the Mediterranean world, the Arabian Peninsula, and South Asia. The port of Oxyrhynchus and Roman trade networks. Roman merchants were heavily involved in trade along the coast of Arabia, with the port of Oxyrhynchus in Egypt acting as a crucial intermediary between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. The expansion of trade to the Indian subcontinent. The rise of Indian Ocean trade networks. With the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Indian Ocean trade continued to thrive. The Erythraean Sea remained a key part of this network, facilitating trade between the Mediterranean, Arabia, and India. Port cities and maritime hubs. Key ports such as Aden, Qusair, and the Malabar coast flourished during this period. The port city of Cambay, modern-day Gujarat, India, became a crucial center for trade in the Indian Ocean. Key goods traded. Textiles from India, ivory, and spices were among the most sought-after commodities traded via the Red Sea and Indian Ocean routes. Gold, silver, and other luxury goods flowed westward in exchange. The rise of Islam and the Red Sea as a strategic route. The spread of Islam. Following the rise of Islam in the 7th century CE, the Arabian Peninsula became a dominant political and religious center. The Islamic caliphates, particularly the Umayyads and Abbasids, established control over key maritime routes in the Red Sea. Trade under Islamic rule. The Islamic caliphates played a crucial role in facilitating trade between the Mediterranean, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Indian Ocean. The city of Mecca and the nearby port of Jeddah became essential hubs for both trade and pilgrimage. The role of dhows. The dhow, a traditional Arab sailing vessel, became the preferred vessel for trade in the Red Sea and Indian Ocean during this period. The emergence of new maritime routes. The shift to the Indian Ocean. With the rise of European maritime powers in the late medieval period, the focus of global trade began to shift toward the Indian Ocean and away from the Red Sea. Portuguese explorers, such as Vasco da Gama, found direct sea routes to India via the Cape of Good Hope, bypassing the traditional Red Sea trade routes. Impact on the Red Sea ports. The decline of trade through the Red Sea ports, such as Aden and Suez, coincided with the emergence of Portuguese and later Dutch and British colonial control over key trade routes. The changing role of the Red Sea in world trade. Like, comment, subscribe.